Welcome to the Financial Planners Southeast Asia podcast, a show dedicated to driving the positive evolution of financial advice, specifically within Southeast Asia. To join a global community of financial advisors sharing and learning with one another to drive the positive evolution of financial advice, head to xyadvisor.com. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Financial Advisors Southeast Asian podcast. Gwen here, and today we have a financial advisor from the Philippines who's not only a financial advisor, but who's also an active stock market trader, and on top of that, he's also an equities and securities salesman. Please help me welcome Rey Tacder.
Hi, thanks for having me, Gwen.
You're welcome. Did I pronounce your last name right, Rey? It's
Yes,
Tacder.
Tacder.
Cool. All right, so Rey, we've actually spoken before, and we've shared like great heaps of conversation, and I know a little about you. But for the benefit of our listeners, I'd like to ask, how long have you been in this industry?
I've been a financial advisor since 2015. I actually joined when I was still in college. I was introduced to the business by my sister, who sort of forced me, quote unquote, into the business. She said that she already paid for the training, so I kind of just listened to the opportunity that was offered. And at that point in my life, I was really looking for extra income to pay for tuition, to pay for, and just to have money all around. So it was kind of a situation where it was the right time and the right place for me to start.
Yes, and that's really good. But it started with you being forced into the industry, and then
Quote
6 years
unquote,
later, yeah, quote unquote, You were coaxed into the industry, and
yes.
then 6 years later, you're still here in the industry, and you're not only um, thrived in your chosen career, but you've also managed to you know take on a few more hats. As I said earlier, you're also in equities and securities, and aside from that, you're also actively trading. Now, what made you decide to delve into this different niches in the financial industry?
That's a really good question. So I started my career in the insurance industry as being a financial consultant, and I think the reason why I stayed for so long was my clients, like maybe 90% are my clients, because when I sold them the policy, I really gave them my word that I'll be here for the long term.
Yeah.
And as financial advisors, we're not just salesmen. We don't just sell a policy. We also service them. If they get sick or if they make a claim, we're the ones that are the frontliners in that sense, that we do the paperwork, and then at the end of the day, we give them the check to their families who need it the most. So this was mentioned at the seminar that I attended, the recruitment seminar, and I think that's what I gravitated towards. Initially it was always about the money, because honestly, if you're a broke college kid, you want some money, to sustain yourself. But after a while, it becomes something more serious, more noble, that you're there to help service not just yourself, but also other people. So in relation to the other jobs that I have as a stockbroker, I think it was just a function of my interest in the financial institution. I got into trading because my sister also, I was also introduced by my third sister to the markets. At that time, I didn't know anything about stocks or how it worked, but I just opened an account and really just started from there.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And I actually tried my hand on it. Wasn't like a fit for me. But what do you think made trading so interesting, and how does it, or how does this knowledge or this other niche would benefit you as a financial advisor?
Mm. So I started trading stocks at the same time I started working, which was back in 2015. At that time, like I said, I did not know anything. So I basically just
Yeah.
I chose a company that I like, which was Jollibee at that time. And I bought like 10,000 or 5,000 worth of shares of that company. And for the longest time, I just held those shares. Actually, it was in 2018 that I started looking at my trading again. So there was a full 3 years where I basically forgot that I had
Mm.
stocks. And then when I checked in 2018, I've seen that my Jollibee shares are worth 30% more. So I did the numbers in my head that, every year it grew by 10%. So
Mm-hmm.
that was really the catalyst that really piqued my interest that, hey, there might be something to this stock market thing. Like what I took for granted in 2015, like I didn't understand. Like, so even though it wasn't a big amount because 30% of 5 or 10K is just small money, I was really looking at the percentage. So that's what really encouraged me that, hey, if I study this thing, which is stock market, I could potentially grow my money more. Because I was comparing it to other vehicles like the interest in the bank, or the mutual funds in the insurance business. It did better than those things. So that kind
Yeah.
of really piqued my interest. And from there, I started learning on my own. I read books, I've watched YouTube videos, and I was so fortunate in August 2018 that I was able to meet a stockbroker, and he was the one who mentored me to have a
Mm.
system in place. And ever since then, my trading has gotten a lot better. Because it's one thing to watch videos in YouTube. It's also another thing when you have another human being teach you this in front of you, and you can ask questions and you can, like tailor fit it to the Philippine market. Because one thing I've noticed is
Yeah, for
a
sure.
lot of the videos in YouTube, they're centered around US markets.
Mhm.
Not really on the Philippine market. So you kind of have to make adjustments to fit it in our local markets.
All right. Yes,
So
definitely. Because I think that it's really good to have like a mentor, and
yes,
especially when it comes to money, because and that's what really, like, in essence, what a financial advisor is. Like, it's your
agree.
mentor, yes, to help you, like, find better ways in order to manage money. And in your case, you had a mentor to help you build a really good framework and structure on how you can be better at trading. And now you've reaped like the fruits of that labor with the help of your mentor. And speaking
Yes.
of mentor, like, are you still being mentored by, or like, do you still or you currently have a mentor right now?
I think we all have a lot of mentors. Like personally, for me, one of my heroes is really my mom, who's also a life insurance agent, and we've been
Ah.
working together since 2015, and so it has allowed me to learn so much from her. She's a lifetime MDRT qualifier, so
Ah, nice.
all the accolades that you could possibly get in the life insurance industry, she's
Mhm.
gotten it. One point she was part of the table. So
Ah,
aside
yes,
from my
that's,
mom, I have
yeah.
my sister who also happens to be my manager, the one who coerced me into the
Oh,
business.
yeah.
As she's also she's also a very good producer, and she's also a
Mm,
branch manager now in the company that we're
mm,
working. So I'm
mm.
in no shortage of mentors when it comes to the insurance industry. My uncle is also the district head of the company we work in. So it's kind of like
Oh,
a family business at this point.
yeah, that's definitely a family business, and I'm glad
Yes.
to know that there are a lot of people within your circle who's ready and willing
Yes.
to help you, that you can approach anytime. Because let's face it, when we start this industry here, we are presented with a lot of setbacks, right? So not
Agree.
only with, not being able to get clients right away, but we also face setbacks with trying to provide for ourselves while we look for new clients, because in the Philippines we are a commission based industry. We don't really have any recurring fees yet,
Mm-hmm.
that I know of. But so yeah, like, can you tell us a little bit more about like your struggles when you were still starting out?
Okay. So when I started working, I had the benefit that I was taken care of by my family. So um,
Mm.
I know some agents that really have a struggle in this industry because there is no guarantee of income, which is just to say that you could really work your butt off month after month, but sometimes it might not necessarily correlate straight to sales, right? So sometimes you have
Yeah.
to plant the seeds. So I really get that part. Some people might want as more stable source of income rather than a commission based job.
Mm.
So
Mm.
personally, I was taken care of by my family, so I did not really have to starve or really worry about the bills. So I'm very fortunate to have that, and I'm grateful for that privilege. So
Mm.
to start, like better off. So my struggles would have been early on. I was always looking for something fixed because I had that mindset where, if I can just earn 20K or 30,000 a month, I'll be fine. That was
Mm.
big
Mm.
already for me at that point in my life. And being in the insurance business, there's no guarantee of income. So you might have huge commissions one month and then next month have zero money coming
Yeah.
in. So for me, I think that's one of the struggles early on, the instability of income. I'm
Mm.
struggling with my words, but yeah,
That's okay. Yes, yes, I definitely agree, because so here in the Philippines is commission based, and if the client pays for the annual fees, then you get in 1 month you get like a really huge
yes,
commission. But
yes,
then for the next month, if you didn't have any monthly clients, then you wouldn't get any. And we do have this tendency to spend all of the money that we have,
yes,
so it takes a lot of discipline to actually go ahead and budget that, and that's like another huge topic that would, like, maybe we can talk about that later on, because I think that's also important, being
yeah.
able to stretch out the commission, especially
Mm-mm.
when financial advisors are starting out. But now that you've overcome those hurdles, like, how were you able to grow your client base?
Um, I basically just focus on the people I knew at the start. So I mentioned earlier that most of my family is in the insurance industry and we're
Yeah.
basically in the same company. So going to your warm market, in this case, my family was kind of difficult because
Yeah, because you're
almost
you're
everyone
you're
basically has a
your family.
policy with either my
Yeah.
mom, my sister, or my uncles, my cousins. So
Yeah. Yeah.
um, if you're in that situation, I guess you really have to carve out a niche for your own. So I focus on people that aren't really that don't have insurance yet. So that's the number one priority.
Mm.
So
Mhm.
one thing I'm really proud of was I was able to go back to my high school teachers and really get
Mm.
them insured because these were the people that I grew up with in my
Mhm.
formative
Yeah.
years. And it's also part of the reason why I'm who I am now. So for better or worse, the values and the habits that you picked up in high school, they stick with you. And
Yeah.
they're really a part of that. And so to ensure those people who helped me become who I am was for me one of the best things I've ever done in the insurance industry. Even if it weren't the biggest cases,
Yeah.
as long as I could ensure that their family has adequate protection, that in case they weren't here anymore, that they would be okay. So it's one of the greatest feelings as an insurance advisor or as a financial advisor to be a part of that, to give back to them.
Yeah, definitely. And also you get to be able to like cultivate like an ongoing relationship with them
True.
as well, because you update them with regards to their policy, or they can contact you anytime if
Yes.
they have questions and all that. So you get to form great ties with your mentors way back in high school. Now, you started with your teachers because as you said that while other financial advisors can always tap or communicate with other family members, you on the other hand, your family, most of them already has policies from your
Mm-hmm.
mom and from your sisters. So like right now, 6 years later, do you have an ideal client base for yourself?
Mostly, right now I'm mostly relying on repeat business. So aside from my teachers, I also
Mm.
focus on my classmates, high school, college,
Mm.
friends from clubs. So basically, like anywhere I go, I just happen to share. So the thing with being a financial consultant is I don't really hard sell. Usually,
Mm-hmm.
I can talk about it casually during a get together if they have
Mm.
insurance and like what their plans are. And it starts from there, planting the idea in their minds. And I'm just surprised that I have clients from basically every part of my life, like grade school friends, high school friends,
Yeah.
friends from sports clubs,
Mm.
So for me, being a financial consultant is really more of a lifestyle because, again, as our job entails is, it entails us to be advocates of financial literacy, like to get an insurance plan is the responsible thing to do. So why not
Mm-hmm.
share it with everyone that you meet? But um, the trick always is, or like the challenge is to do it in a way that it's not off-putting. It's not like you're selling to them because no one wants
Yeah.
to be sold to, but everyone wants to buy. So
Mm. That's a nice one. Yeah.
yeah, different strokes for different folks. Some people might prefer a direct approach, like, "Hey, can I talk to you on your office on Monday? I just want to share an idea regarding your finances." And some maybe you can do it through small talk or
Mhm.
indirect means. So um, that's the fun part in our job. Really, is you figure out different approaches for different people because there's really no one way to close a client, and sometimes it could take a while. Like you could tell them about the idea um, years before, and then when they're ready, they'll just call you like, "Hey Ray, I'm ready to start my policy." So that's how happened
Yeah.
a lot now. When I was
Mm.
planting the seeds early on in 2015, 2016, but they only got their policies maybe during the pandemic because uh, life changed, right? Like
Yes. Yes. So there was
people,
that's
yeah,
one of the things that changed.
yes, and people were like more hyper aware that hey, things can change at a drop of a hat, right? Could lose a job, I could lose a family
Mm.
member. So this hyper awareness of death and life and the instability of life is actually, I think, a boon to an insurance industry because people are finally waking up and really seeing
Mm.
the value of life insurance and what we
Yes.
provide to our clients.
Mm,
So,
definitely. I would definitely agree with that. Like
mm-mm,
after the pandemic hit, there were like more conversations gearing towards how can they, like what would happen if I get positive, like is there a
mm-mm.
way that where can I get the money? And
COVID
then
is
they open up
expensive, man.
about, yes, yes, very
Very
expensive.
expensive.
And then and it opens up to HMO, which leads to
Mm,
insurance, which leads to like and there was like this thing where the market was crashing, and then there was an introduction that this is now the best time to buy stocks because of because the market is actually crashing and all that stuff. So um there were a lot of like not so helpful information floating around in the internet,
Yes.
but
False news.
yes, false news. And but I think it's also good that those topics were opened up, because it also gives an opportunity for financial advisors and everyone else in the financial industry to answer those questions and maybe correct any existing stigma that runs around, especially here in the Philippines, where there's still a stigma with regards to financial advisors, to insurance advisors, that like we're only here for the commission, and then you'll
Yes.
never hear from us again after we've sold you this policy and all that stuff. So I think, yeah, I definitely agree that it's
Mm,
there were some things that have come out well because of the pandemic. And speaking of the pandemic, because we've already talked about this previously, but how were you able to fare during the pandemic?
um, just like everyone, when the lockdown happened during March, I went through a phase where basically I didn't want to work for a bit, like you know,
Yeah.
because I'm really
It
used
was like
to
depressing
going out.
times.
Yes, like going out to see clients. I wasn't really into Zoom meetings. At that time, Zoom wasn't even a thing yet. I think.
Yeah,
No.
yeah,
So it
definitely
was
agree.
really, really a tough pill to swallow to shift everything online. And truth be told, still adjusting to how things are now. So every time I talk to a client now, it's through Zoom, and then we do the online platform for my company when we're we're closing a policy or we're closing a sale. So it's a lot of learning, a lot of adjustments, but it's just a good thing that my company offers a lot of trainings and a lot of motivational sessions so that you
Mm.
still become productive even though it's lockdown. So I'm really grateful for that.
Yeah. Yes, because like I do notice that a lot of the companies now have this program where they help their employees get to the day and find new ways to be more efficient in their job. And I think one of those is like coming up with a new like app or software to help you become more productive, right? Now,
Yes.
definitely agree on the Zoom part too. Like, I did not like Zoom. I didn't really know how to use it because I was actually more inclined to Google Meetings. And
Mm-mm.
so, but a lot of
Same
people
here.
use Zoom. Yeah. So, you know, it also took a lot of adjusting and also working from home, right? Like, I know
Yes.
that you are the type of person who likes like a face to face meeting, but it's
Mm.
now difficult to do it at home. Like you can't really have that physical feeling of being with the
Yeah.
person. And sometimes when you're talking to a person over a camera, sometimes they don't, like, you can't get their full attention. Like, does
Mm.
that happen to you too?
Yeah, it's a lot different compared to being in person because I think when you're in person, like, can engage them more rather than over the computer where there's so many things that can distract you, like they have their kids or pets, or the number one issue really is the internet connection. So
Mm-hmm.
having a really bad internet connection can really, really slow you down in terms of your progress. But like what can we do? And just somehow work over it.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Mm-mm.
Because not all the places here in the Philippines, for some reason, have good internet connection.
Agree.
And I can definitely attest to that. Until now, we don't have fiber connection here in the place where we're at, and we're still in
Mm.
the city, right? But I'm glad to know that you're coping well enough right now, because I know that. There were a lot of people who were struggling as well. Like some of them didn't really, it didn't like come up with the idea of working from home. And so when the pandemic hit and we weren't able to go outside, like they didn't know where to start when it comes to working from home and adjusting with the current situation. But now that we're slowly opening up, like the cities have is much more lenient when it comes to meeting up with in cafes and stuff. Are you back on like meeting clients face to face?
For now, just select clients. Like I'm not really doing face-to-face meetings all the time. Actually, tomorrow I'm meeting a client of mine who's been a client since 2018, and then he's gonna get 2 more policies for his kids. So, I for new clients, I usually just focus on Zoom and online stuff. But for existing clients, of course, we take all the protocols of social distancing, face shield, face mask. But
Yeah.
for those existing clients, I really take the time to go to them and really explain the policy they're getting and really be there in person, because I rather do it manually. Like I'm just used to manual. I'm refusing to change. So it's a struggle. Yeah.
Yeah, I can definitely understand. And maybe there are some non-financial advisors who are listening to this podcast right now. And let's just explain this real quick. There's actually a need to explain further if your client already has an existing policy, right? Because we don't really want them to be over-insured in something or invest in something that is redundant because they already have this initial type of investment, right? So I think I definitely agree with you. Like sometimes or most of the times when it's already an existing client who wants to like either get a new policy for their children or maybe get another type of insurance or investment vehicle, then it's better to meet face to face. And it also builds like a stronger relationship between you and your client when you are actually meeting face to face.
Yes, exactly. And
Yeah.
I also take into account what do they really want. Like example, if they want some to start a program with their kids, like okay, like what is the goal here? Is this for college or is this just for general savings? So when I meet a client, it's really more of me just asking a lot of questions because I really want to understand where the person is coming from. And then I would have recommendations based on his answers. So the way I look at our job is really not just a salesman. We're not a peddler. We're selling our wares in the streets, no? Like it's all prepackaged. What we are we're financial doctors. So we have to understand what are the symptoms, what is the person going through, what is the circumstance, and from there we can have an effective diagnosis. That because every client is different, they have different income, different backgrounds, different mindsets. So it really helps, at least for me. Like that's why I struggle over Zoom, because it's just lacking. Of course, you can see them over the screen and can talk to them, but I don't know. I can't explain it that you have to be there in front of them to really understand your client. And that's how you can be effective when it comes to offering your services, is by first understanding what do they really want, what they need, and what's the best solution to their problem.
Yeah, right. So I'm glad you actually brought that topic up because, yes, that's one of the reasons why I think, having a meeting is very important because sometimes, your client says, I want to get this type of insurance policy, let's say. But then with a closer inspection, with conversing with them and asking the right questions, you figure out that he doesn't really want this, but he needs this instead. And so you have to educate your client that this is like the what he really needs, and this what he really needs is in this type of product instead of the one that
Mm,
he initially said that he wanted to have. So that's really good, that you're able
exactly.
to, yeah, to diagnose what he needs, instead of, giving him what he wants. And I think, like, sometimes I've heard this from other, like, friends of mine who had policies, like, they've also had a bad experience
Mm-hmm.
because it they felt like they were just being sold to, because it turned
Yes.
out that the policy that they've got, and that they were, paying until now, is not the right one for them. So
Mm,
it's really good that you've mentioned that. And because I think it's a really good topic that, financial advisors, especially here in the Philippines, can talk about, like, for what's really the mindset of a financial advisor when coming into a meeting. Is it to sell a certain product, or to really determine what the client needs, that is most suited for, that person's situation, what they can actually maintain to pay. That's like one of them, because it's, I don't know if you've heard, I think you've heard about this,
mm.
Ray. Like, some financial advisors would push a product because it's like it provides, let's face it, like the biggest amount of commission,
Mm.
right? And
Yes.
then it ends up like the client is unable to maintain the amount that they need to shell out every month or
Mm.
every year, because it's just not really for them.
Yes, it's not realistic for their
Yeah.
situation.
Hmm.
I
So,
agree. I agree.
mhm. Yeah, because, and you mentioned earlier, right? Like, your first clients, although they weren't really big, the policies weren't really big, but at least it's a head start for them. And because, anyways, later on they can actually pay for, like, they can increase their policy, right?
Yes.
So
Or
it's
maybe even
better
get a
that they
new
start.
one, right? So,
Yes, that's
uh,
right. As long as it's what the client actually needs, and what, like, the financial, not like what the financial advisors want. So that's just me.
100% agree. 100% agree. And I just want to add that you kind of have to see your clients also as they're going through life cycles. So they're not just going to get one policy from you. So as they move on through their different stages of life, when if, at first they're young, single professional. So
Mm,
you might offer them a policy for that time of their lives, and then they start a family. So their priorities will change, and there's an opportunity there if you are quick enough to really capture that market. No, so I
mm.
see myself growing with my clients, and
Yeah.
I see it as a long-term view. So I don't really. I agree with what you said that some agents would push for the highest premium because that gives the highest commissions. But
Mm,
in a way, you're killing your business because if the policy lapses and they have a bad
mm,
taste in their mouth from that
mm,
experience, they're not going to get from you
mm,
anymore, or they might be turned off
mm,
to insurance altogether, right? This is just an industry for money grubbers, or this is just for greedy people. So we don't want to give up that idea. And part of that
yes.
is to be part of the change. You could be the advisor that really understands your client well enough that you offer them something that's realistic. So I just want to share quickly an experience I had a few years
Sure.
ago. I met this guy who was working in J Center. So it's a mall in the city I live in.
Mm,
And what really struck me was he was a really hardworking guy. He was 21 years old, fresh from college, and he was basically working whatever jobs in order to make money. And I asked him, "Why are you so hardworking? Like, do you have kids or to provide for?" And he basically
mm,
said,
mm,
like, I have so many goals, I have so many dreams, so I want to get as much money now when I'm young. And then I asked him if he had insurance. So apparently he had three policies at age 21.
21.
Yes, from
Oh.
the yellow company, green company, and the blue company. So
So you shopped around.
yeah, he really shopped around, and there were decent size policies. So I actually also offered him from my company, and so we decided to talk about it. And in my fact finding, I really realized that almost like 80% of his salary goes to insurance premiums.
Oh
Yeah,
no.
so
Yeah.
like he was barely living on just like a sliver of his income. So I really told him, "Are you sure you want to do this? Because like that 20% is like your food, your rent. At that time, the
Mm-hmm.
company was paying for his rent, so he was really just paying
Mm-hmm.
for, food and additional personal expenses. But so I told him that although yes, it's contrary to us now because as agents we want to close the case for commissions, but
Mm-hmm.
I really saw it was really against him, and he already had protection that was adequate.
Mm, yes.
So I really told him now maybe now's not the right time because you already have enough insurance. Maybe you might want to save your money, maybe start a business. So I really just treated him as a friend and advised him because at that I was a bit older, so I was able to do that. So some clients, um, they're the ones that advise me. So um,
Yeah.
and he was also asking a lot of questions, so I was happy to answer, and I hope I was able to help him because like that guy was one of the most hardworking people I've met. Like he was working in a department store at the same time has so many sidelines. Like after
Yeah.
work, like I don't think he sleeps. So it was just a case where you really have to put the clients first, and it might not benefit you in the short term, but I really believe if you have that mindset going
Mm.
forward, it will just pay dividends later. Like, the clients will see the value you bring them, and you know maybe God will just reward you in His own way.
Yes, and definitely agree with that because I also had like a Malaysian financial advisor
Mm-hmm.
whom I talked to. Very, very good guy. Uh, Kevin, hello, Kevin. But he said that he had this one lady who approached him and she was crying because she couldn't sustain herself. And she needed help because she doesn't know like how to go about with her finances.
Mm-hmm.
And then when um, my friend, the financial advisor, took to checking all of her accounts, all of her insurances, it turns out that I think I'm not sure about with the numbers, but I think she had nine insurance
Wow,
policies,
that's a
and she
lot.
was still yes, and she was still paying for them. And some of them, the financial advisor determined was that the client simply didn't need it. And imagine this person who she thinks of herself as a poor person because she couldn't even like afford to buy the things that she needed, and yet she had nine policies that
Mm-hmm.
her money um, m- gets deducted with on a monthly basis. And you know like after that, after they reassessed and retained the ones that she needed and then move her money around, she was able to live a more comfortable life. And she was eternally grateful for it because, you know, imagine like initially having thought that you didn't have enough money for yourself when it turns
Yes.
out that you actually had enough money and then some.
Mm.
So that's
Wow.
yeah, and I fully support what you said. Like you may not have been able to close that particular sale, but who knows, like the if a friend of that person mentions that he needs insurance, then he would refer that friend of his to you because he
Mm-hmm.
believes in you because you've provided him a solid form of advice. And I think yes, that's it will reward you tenfold. But and I think aside from that one, Ray, like aside from giving, solid advice, not just from in a like closing the sale point of view, like how else do you actually acquire more clients?
The great thing about our company is that we have weekly meetings. We call them huddles,
Mm, yeah.
and in these huddles, we have different speakers from different backgrounds. Some are bankers, some are, fresh grads, some are architects, what different walks of life, and they share their stories on how they were able to perform in the life insurance industry. So for me, I just listen to these people and I try to apply it as soon as possible. So it could be like closing techniques. It could just be mindset. So how I go about it really is I try whatever works. I throw whatever strategy there is and see what sticks in the wall.
Yeah, yes. Which reminds me, and I just gotta share it. So,
Yes.
I know you know Mamads, right? So,
Sorry.
Mamads is
Mamads.
Mamads, Jill's mom.
Oh, okay. Tita Mads. Okay, like Mamads,
Yes,
like
Tita.
Mom
I'm
Mads.
sorry.
Okay.
So
Okay.
you know her as Tita Mads. So
Mm,
she's one of the top performers
yes.
in
You should
my
interview
husband's
her.
company. Yes, for sure. Soon I will
Okay.
definitely. I just need to like prepare myself.
Yes.
But she mentioned in one of these sessions as well, like you have to broaden your mental wallet. I think that was
Mm-hmm.
the term she coined, and that was because, like, for us, because let's just say for me, we can only afford this amount of money. So if we pitch to a certain client, sometimes we have this certain bias that we're just going to maybe provide this type of insurance amount or investment
Mm,
amount to our clients, and then it turns out that your clients can actually afford more, and because you didn't really make them decide, like you didn't probe more on
mm,
what they can actually pay for, um they end up like not getting the type of investment that they can actually afford, which is more than what you may have thought. An
yes.
example for this is like you offered like an investment of say 2000
Mm-hmm.
per month, and but because you didn't really probe more on your client, what they were actually thinking is that they can afford a 5,000 per month policy.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sharing this because my husband has that experience actually, and he had two experiences with that same one. The first one, um, because he forgot about that lesson, he actually pitched like a smaller like insurance policy for that client, and then his client later on said that, hey, like after everything was processed, like, hey, I think this is too low because I think I can afford more. So it's like, huh? So and after that, like, he really remembered what Mamad said,
uh,
and so he was able to close a bigger sale afterwards as well, because yes, one of those huddles is very important. And I agree
mm,
that you should be able, like, you should ideally take the advice to heart as soon as possible, because these people are actually your mentors as well, right? So
yes.
yeah, so they've already done the work for you, and all you need to do is follow like the better experience that they've already had, because for sure it was born about in their mistakes, and then in their trials as well.
Yes. 100% agree on that. I actually just want to add something. My sister
Mm-hmm.
said this early on. Like, I'm not sure if it was right after I got coded as an agent. She
Mm-hmm.
basically just told me that if you want to go where you want to go, just look at the people who's been there already, and you try to see what road they took to get there. So
Mm-hmm.
I've done that for my life insurance business as well as my stock market journey. So as a trader and also as a stockbroker, I try to look for mentors who I want to be in 10 years. I want to be like them. So kind of just pick their brains, see what worked for them, and try to see if it will work for me. So for those aspiring um, financial advisors, just look to someone that you can look up to and really just try
Mm.
to emulate what works for them, like their good practices, the discipline, the drive, their approaches, And the great thing is you can have more than one. So you can have a mentor for prospecting, you can have a mentor for
Mm.
closing, like you can pick and match. And when you do a good job, it's kind of like you're honoring them because like a bit of them is in you. So,
Yeah,
so learning from the previous generation and in the future, pass it on to the new generation. So
that's
cycle
true.
of life.
Yes, that's true. And what you said was very interesting. Like, you get to pick the
Yes.
types of mentors that you have. So you actually have different types of mentors for like different stages of your
Mm,
business. So
exactly.
that's very interesting. And I think I only thought of that. So I'm very happy that you've shared with us
Mhm.
that information. That's really nice.
And this goes to more than just your business. Could be like the way you live your life, your
Mm.
philosophy, how you treat other people. So, it's everything, not just work. It's your whole life. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I actually agree because I think we usually do that in life, right? Like we
Mm,
pick the best advice, but we don't seem to do that in business. Like we try to stick to one. So yes, and I definitely agree that whatever you learn in life in general, you can actually um emulate that in different in your different areas of your life, whether it be parenthood or um what is that, your relationships, your intimate relationships, or your business,
yes.
right? So
Yes.
oh, and by the way, this is one important topic, so I was about to close the podcast because um I didn't want to take up much of your time,
It's
but I
okay.
was
It's
really
really okay.
yeah. So thanks, Yuri. So we actually chatted about this earlier,
Mhm.
about your recent YouTube. So
Mm.
you've started your own YouTube channel. So before we end, I just really want to ask you more about that. So first, like, why did you start a YouTube channel?
Yes, so it's an interesting topic. I basically joined YouTube or started a YouTube channel because I guess I wanted to share my experience in the stock market as well as provide
Mm,
value to the listeners. Not saying that I'm the best in trading or anything.
mm.
In fact, like I'm actually quite bad at it at the start, and then where I'm somewhat decent now. So um, for me, it was a journey, and a lot of people had their hand in helping me improve myself. So one of it was YouTube videos. So
Mm,
I really just thought to myself that if anyone was interested in the stock market, I want to have a place where they can learn and maybe also uh, to create a place where they can learn in safety, like, and they can ask questions and we can all learn from each other. So I wanted to create that environment, which I wish I had back in 2015 when I was starting out, because it was very hard to find YouTube channels that was focused on the Philippine markets, topics that are
mm,
more centered towards us. So maybe that's why I created a channel, is to be a resource also in that department. Yeah,
all
and
right.
also it's also a great way to um, exercise your creativity. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm always looking for ways to push myself, not just in work, but also in other ways. So it keeps life more interesting.
Yes, for sure.
Never pigeonhole yourself to one thing, like, oh, this guy's just an
Mm,
insurance agent, this guy's just a broker.
mm,
Do something on the left field, something unexpected. So uh, most of the time it's really just to surprise myself, like, what works, what doesn't work, but
mm.
just have fun with
Yes.
it.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. You should always look for like you never should stop growing, right? That's
Yes, never
basically
stop
it. So
growing.
yeah, because and we talked about this earlier, right? Like
Yes.
you kept putting the YouTube project off
Mm-hmm.
for quite some time because you're like me, like a really like class A perfectionist. But how did you like manage to overcome that and really get that out there? Because I know that it's not just you and me. There are a lot of people who are the same way, like does not want to put out content that it's not like 100%.
Yes. So we're both kind of perfectionists, right? And this actually stops us from uh, just, I think for me, like it stops us from growing
Yeah.
more, because if you don't put the seed in the ground, it's never gonna grow. I think what really pushed me to start it was I just accepted that things I do won't always be perfect. In fact, most of the time it won't be perfect, but I
Yeah.
accept that. And my mindset now, moving on with this channel, is I'm just gonna learn as much as I can. I'm gonna take every feedback and see if I can use that to improve my content, as well as the way I handle things in the channel. So I see it more as a progression instead of perfection. So that's one of my mottos in life: progression over perfection. Don't strive to be perfect, because it's very hard to be perfect. There's always going to be something off, but if you're constantly improving, the quality of your work is gonna really go up. So
Yeah.
that's my mentality now. Like yours, the self is always the harshest critic. So
Yes.
what might be terrible for you might be actually insightful for some people. So that's what keeps me motivated, listening to my friends who keep,
Mhm.
motivating me, telling me that it was
Mhm.
good. And then at the same time, it's about not being satisfied. Like you can be happy with your work, but never be satisfied. Always try to
Yeah.
improve in your little ways. So perfection is a very, very dangerous road to go down, because
Yes. Yes.
it can mean that you might never even start. So how can you improve something when you don't even start? So my mindset
Yes.
is just keep moving forward, and eventually it will lead you to a better place.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely agree with that, Ray, because for those of you who don't know, I do have a YouTube channel as
Yeah,
well.
subscribe,
But
like, and
yeah,
subscribe, guys.
thanks, Ray. But backstory is it actually took me 5 years. So it took me
Wow.
5 years, and the last straw. It was like he wasn't really like the main reason why I started, but he was like one of those like last straws. Um is the director of our community. That's Clayton Daniel. He's the founder of XY Advisor. So he was the one who said, start it now. And he basically told me like, it's going to be crap for 1 year. So don't worry about it. The most important thing is for you to start. And that was the reason why I started. So I started about the same time that I started working for XY Advisor as well. So, and it's really true. Like,
That's
imagine
great.
5 years. Yeah, 5 years
That's
in the
great.
making. Right. But when I finally put it out there, like, it was the biggest feeling of relief
Mm,
because, like, like I didn't even notice it that it was actually stressing me out that there was like a plan that I've been always been putting off. So,
yes.
um, and I'm glad that you also started. We're now a really big community of YouTubers, Filipino
Actually,
YouTubers in the financial advice community here in Cebu. So that's really nice. Now,
yes.
and so Ray, thank you so much. So I really don't want to take up so
Mm,
much of your time,
it's
and
really fine.
um,
It's really fine.
but yes, and I do want to reserve a few more conversations for our future podcasts, and
Yes, I'm looking
hopefully,
forward to
like,
that.
yeah, and hopefully, you know what, we're going to have more conversations about investing, about being a trader as a financial advisor. But for now, Thank you so much for coming into the show. I've also learned a lot, and hopefully, our
Thank you
listeners
for
have
having
learned a
me.
lot as well. Yes, no problem. And I hope that, soon we can have another talk again. But for now, if there are people out there who want to get to know you more or get to know more about what you do, where can they find you?
You can find me over in Facebook. Just search up Rey Tacder.
Thank you so much, Ray.
Thank you
Have a
so
good
much.
one.
Yes, you too. Thank you.